I'm a firm believer in the reality that you can make a ton of money, but if you don't know how to manage it, you're pretty much screwed, and you'll probably wind up with way less than someone who makes less money but knows how to manage it really well. And that's one of the main reasons why I think I was able to quit my job making as little money as I was, because I realized how much money I needed to live and then how much I needed to take out of my business every single month. And I built a system to ensure that every single month, all the money that came into my business, I would put in the right accounts and places so that I can continue to pay myself and never have to go work for somebody else again. And the beautiful thing about building systems to do this is that it's really simple after you get everything set up. And so this is actually a video that you guys have requested a lot before, but I'm going to take you through the spreadsheets that I use in my business. To be completely honest, I forgot where I stopped talking. I think it was something about how this has saved me a ton of money and time, because it really has. Because I actually went into the sheet that I'm going to share with you guys and updated it a lot. So I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that I have, and to show you how important it is, it's literally my first bookmark up here because I go back to it so often as I'm getting money into my business. And I'll quickly run through my spreadsheet, and then I'm going to go over a spreadsheet that I'm going to give to you guys free down in the description. If you want to download it and follow along while we're doing this, that would be awesome. But I made it pretty intuitive and hopefully easy to understand and follow. But this video will kind of serve as the breakdown of how to use it well. Now, the reason this spreadsheet is so important to me is because when we start to look at it, we can see it has my whole entire business finances just kind of broken down so that I know exactly what I need to do every month without questioning, and it does all the calculations for me. That way I only have to think through things once, and then it's automated for me after that. And as my revenue comes in, I populate it into the spreadsheet, and it tells me exactly where to send my money and make sure that everything gets paid. The one thing this does necessitate, though, is to have just one bank account that all of your funds come into. I have that separate from all of my operating accounts, my owner pay account. I have a bunch of different bank accounts. You're probably aware of that if you watch this channel before, and it helps me to stay separated. But you at least need one account that everything goes into before you allocate it to everything else. At least that's my preferred way to do it. So jumping into the spreadsheet, we see here we have monthly transfers, which is everything that I have to pay every single month on a subscription basis. I pulled this from 4 different accounts because we have 3 different departments in our business. Our LLC houses not only my Amazon business, which you might be aware of on this channel, but also this YouTube channel, which I'm making money from, as well as some freelance work that my wife does. And the 4th one that you see up here, owner pay, is just stuff that we pay that helps us to run our normal lives, but it's actually a write-off because we've built businesses around our lifestyle. So we're making money doing things that we would kind of do normally, but it is still a business expense, so we are able to write it off. And so we have all of that here on the spreadsheet, and we have everything that I pay for monthly reselling. My wife pays for a Canva subscription, the other half the QuickBooks, as well as some domains for Google. And then my YouTube channel has this MacBook computer that I'm working on right here, as well as an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription so that I can create these videos. This isn't the most important page out of everything, but down here we have all of my business accounts. I have the last 4 digits here because as I'm transferring between the accounts, I can just reference this page instead of having to go to each specific business to know exactly which account it's from. And that helps me with QuickBooks as well, because QuickBooks doesn't always say my account nickname. It just gives me the last 4 of the account. And then all of these are the target allocations. This is something that you would be aware of if you went to my channel and saw this video, but we'll talk about this video a little bit later on about exactly how I transferred my money in my Amazon business, which is actually this new sheet down here that I'll get to as we're talking about the spreadsheet that I made specifically for you guys, which is actually a better version of the one that I have, and I should probably use it, but I'm kind of stubborn, so I'll probably just keep mine. And then this video right here about being able to live on $10,000 a month on Amazon sales, which is kind of only possible because of how I allocate my money in my business. And that's what all of these percentages are for, but we'll get to that in a second. I'll just show you kind of what mine are. I have a template income one that I duplicate every single month, which is what I'd recommend for you to do. So already for February, there's some income that I have in my bank account that I'm going to wait to transfer until February from Amazon affiliates, as well as a couple of Amazon payouts, since I've already done my 2 transfers, which you'll notice first and second transfer. And that's because I'll only do this 2 times a month, where I'll go into my business. That way it's not overwhelming. I'm not doing this every single day, but I'll add up all the money that's come into my business, and then I'll put it in its respective accounts and make sure everything can get paid off, and I'm saving some money in my business and paying myself. So seeing this isn't really super helpful unless we start to look at what it would look like for your business, which is why I made you a completely blank spreadsheet that looks a little bit different, and you'll notice that, but there are some reasons why, and we'll fill this in for you using my specific numbers just to make things easier since I don't know your numbers. But by the end of this, you'll know how to fill this spreadsheet in for yourself and exactly how it's going to make your life so much freaking easier. But before we even get there, in order to make sure that everybody can get a copy of this and people aren't just seeing other people's business information, I actually set this as a get the link. Anyone with this link can view it. It'll be the first link down in the description, but you can only view it. So I'm going to go into a different Google account real quick, just another one that I have, bodanzayoutube@gmail.com. You should reach out to that email if you have any questions or like want to reach out to me. You can see it says view only, so if I try to type something in here, nothing is going to actually get typed. What you got to do then is go to file, make a copy, and then just name it whatever you want. I have the name is kind of long, but it's specific. Target allocation spreadsheet for underlined business. I'll just say Anthony's business. And then once this comes up, this will be your own sheet
on your own Google account. And so now I can start to actually make some changes to the spreadsheet. That doesn't make any sense because it's not a number, but do that first. I've had some spreadsheets before that I've given out in the past, and people have reached out to me on email and said, hey, give me access to view this. I'm like, no, make a copy. And they always do that after, right under the link, I say hit make a copy so that you can actually have your own. So just please make a copy of it. We're actually going to just work on the one that I just made a copy of, just so that I don't accidentally mess something up on the spreadsheet that you guys can have. So we're going to close down that tab, and here we can see a bunch of different information, and we're going to start from this info tab and then move on to the template income tab over here. And last, we'll look at the Amazon payout calculations, which are specifically from this video, the do this immediately when you get paid by Amazon FBA, because I break down some really specific numbers that you would need to know in your business. And I've gotten some requests for this specific spreadsheet, and so I just added it to this one. So if you're waiting for that spreadsheet, download this one. It'll have both of them combined, and they actually work together and interplay. So let's take a look at how that works. Also, in case you're worried this might go a little fast, I'm going to try to explain this a little bit slower and go through everything pretty methodically, because especially if you haven't thought through these concepts before, it could be a little overwhelming, especially as you're seeing just things that just say divide by zero, divide by zero, divide by zero, a bunch of mistakes. Don't worry about that yet. We're going to make sure it all makes sense for you. So the very first thing that you have are different incomes. Since this is based on my own account, I'm just going to put my own stuff. I have Amazon as my first income, Amazon FBA. My second income is YouTube. And then the third one in our business is my wife, Carissa's stuff. So we're going to put those three in, and now we're going to go through these different tables over here. You can see that there are three different things. There's account, percentage allocation, and dollar allocation. The account is the specific bank account that this money is going to go into. I do think it's best to have these in separate accounts, but there are a few that you might want to put together if you don't want to open like a billion bank accounts. But I think currently I have like 15 business bank accounts, something really stupid like that. Maybe it's like 12. I find it really easy because I know where all my money is and what it's supposed to be used for. And that's helped us to build up each of these accounts individually and not spend money from one part of our business on another part of our business, and make sure that we're always getting paid correctly. So going back to the spreadsheet, we can see that we first have a profit account, which you don't need necessarily. I just like to have it because it's basically fun money. It's money that we have just for owning the business instead of for working in it. And for working in the business, we have an owner pay account, and that's what we get paid out of every single month. We have that not just go straight to our bank account, and that acts also a little bit as an emergency fund, because currently we have like 2 to 3 months in our owner pay account. So that acts as a little bit of a buffer in and of itself. And then we have our tax account, which you need to save money for taxes. This is the one account I would say you need to have a separate account for, that you never touch. Not almost never touch. Don't touch this money. And this is going to be based on your owner pay and profit account, and I'll show you that in a second. Then you have an inventory account for the Amazon business. And if you're watching this channel, I assume that you might do something with inventory. If not, you can just use one of these other 2 incomes, or just keep this at 0. And then your operating expenses and your retained earnings are going to be there. These 2 can definitely be one account, but we have them separate. Retained earnings is more for like bigger expenses that we're thinking about down the road, and operating expenses is what we have to pay every single month, or money that like is okay for us to just be spending that month. Then we have a total down here. This is just to make sure that your percentage allocations are always at 100%, and your dollar allocations doesn't really matter too much. The only reason I have this dollar allocation thing here is in case you don't know what percentage allocation you need, but you know approximately how much you spend every month in specific categories, how much you want to take out of your business, and you just want to put it in based on the dollar amount. So I have this percentage allocation set up to actually calculate automatically if you put in all the dollar amounts. So let's say for profit, I only want to take $5 and put it in my profit account every month. I want $500 to pay myself. You could see automatically that this tax number was calculated, because that's 30% of our profit plus our owner pay, because any money that we take out of the business that's not intended to be reused in the business, you need to pay taxes on or save money for taxes on it. And I always do 30% because that'll cover my butt. Anything up to $110,000 being married, about $55,000 being single, if you just take the standard deduction. So I'll know I'll have enough money saved to cover all of my taxes when tax time comes, and we did not nearly make that much last year, so we have a big bonus coming our way, which is not a bad thing. So never touch that tax money, put it in an account, and get yourself a nice bonus at the end of the year in case you oversave. So I say inventory-based business, so I put $1,000 for inventory, $200 for operating expenses. Don't worry about retained earnings, or $200. And now we can see that all of these percentages have been pre-populated based on the dollar amounts that we put in. Oh, inventory is only 1,000, silly. And so we see the total dollars that we need to bring in revenue, as well as the total percentage allocation. But I don't necessarily think this is the best way to do this personally. I would actually think through the percent of money that you'd want to put in each of these categories. The dollar could just be a good way to get you started. But specifically for inventory and owner pay account, if this is an inventory-based business, I would wait until we get to this Amazon payout calculations, and I'll give you what I recommend to be your percentages for those based on how much money you want to take out of your business, so that you can ensure that you're always able to pay yourself, because that's a really big question a lot of people have when starting their own business. So for me, I'm just going to put in my numbers here because I've already done this for myself. I know for profit, I pull out 0.1%. I did notice that you can't just put in 0.1 because it'll just change it back to a normal number, which is really dumb. You have to put 0.1%. Owner pay, I pull out 25%. For tax, it automatically calculates to 7.53%. But personally, I don't care about that 0.03. I just change that to 7.5% because it keeps everything a little bit more clean for me. Inventory, I do 61.5%, operating expenses is 4.9%, and retained earnings is the last 1%, leading us to a total of 100%. If I would have forgotten that it was 4.9 and maybe put like 3.5, you'll notice that now we're only at 98.6%, and you can bump up one of those other categories with that last 1.4%, which would be operating expenses for me, 4.9. This dollar allocation doesn't matter because that's what we're going to use this template income sheet for, and these are going to be the actual transfers. And then if you have any other businesses, you can do the same thing here with YouTube and Carissa's stuff. I'm actually going to just leave that blank, but if you have other incomes, you can do that. If you don't have any of these extra things though, you might actually want to delete these, and I'll show you why in a couple minutes. The next really important part of this page is the monthly transfers part of it. When we went back to my personal one, this is the very top because this is what I worry about every single month, making sure that I'm transferring from these specific owner pays, reselling operating, Carissa Creative operating, and YouTube operating accounts into my credit card payoff account, which is a separate bank account that I have. I have too many bank accounts. But it's really helpful for me just to have that all separate so that I know that some money is being saved to pay for operating expenses, some money is just specifically for paying off credit cards, and I can just put that towards everything automatically. What I put here are the various subscriptions or things you know you're going to have to pay every single month. And if you're wondering about like your operating expenses up here, you might actually want to do this part first just to figure out how much dollar-wise you would need. And then as you figure out how much you're going to get paid out or your approximate revenue, you can find out the correct percentage for that. But if we're talking, this is just like your Amazon operating account. Maybe you have Inventory Labs for $49 a month, link down in the description if you're interested in it. Maybe you have Be Cool for $100 a month, link down in the description if you want a free trial of that $100 plan. And then you have maybe business insurance as well, and Keepa. So then you know that you need to pull $214 every single month no matter what for your operating expenses. The reason I have this big table over here is to show when I actually make those transfers so that I can record that I've done it, which is why on my own personal one over here, you can see that on the 24th, just 5 days ago, I actually made all of these transfers. And then the last part down here are just the last 4 of your account numbers if you need to put that or you want to put that. If you don't, just delete that, that's no problem. But moving on from here, we're going to go over into the template income sheet. And we can already see that some stuff has been pre-populated because of our work over in this info sheet. Specifically, income 1, which is Amazon, has this little table down here, which has the accounts and the allocation percentages in it. And these are the exact same ones from this info sheet over here. The other thing that we can notice is updated is that these first and second transfer tabs are actually different from the one that you'll copy because these all say number divided by 0, and that's because these are based on the allocation percentages down here. Specifically for Amazon, if you didn't know, Amazon now actually lets you transfer funds essentially every day. Here it is, new FBA update, get paid by Amazon every day. These thumbnails look very similar. I think they did well, maybe that's why they're so similar. The beautiful thing about this is everything is just going to change as you input any numbers. So we can see this total down here will change as I change my first payout to $100 because every time there's $100 in my account, I'll get it transferred. Oh, that's the wrong sheet. Don't want to change that sheet. I'm just going to close that one out. So as we change it to $100, we can see that the total down here changes to $100, and then it's already been allocated. So $100 breaks down to 10 cents of profit, $25 of owner pay, $7.50 of taxes, $61.50 towards inventory, $4.90 in operating expenses, and $1 for retained earnings. The one last thing that's changed too, which you might not notice, is this left to transfer bit. And we'll get to this a little bit more in a second, but we can see it now says $3,900 instead of the $4,000 that it was before. And I say change $4,000 to your necessary monthly payout, which is your income number divided by your owner pay percentage, and we'll get to that a little bit as we get to Amazon payout calculation. So as this fills up, we can see that these numbers start to change, and now we have a total of $1,900 of payouts. Luckily, you didn't have to calculate all this yourself, and it's already been allocated for you, but that's not the end of it, because if you have other parts of your business, you're also going to want to add those in when you do these transfers. The problem is we're assuming that you don't have those, and so we're actually going to be deleting that because it makes for a much cleaner video. And now we can see down here, our transfer totals for our first transfer are done. And those are just the exact numbers from up above. And to make sure that that's the case, we have the sum of the transfers, which will equal the sum of the revenue. And so the revenue adds up all of these light green areas right here, and the sum of the transfers adds up all of this over here to make sure that those two numbers match in case there are any miscalculations or anything that I've done wrong. And then what I want to do is, if I was to transfer this today, I would say transferred 1/29/2022. That way I know that I'd already transferred it, and then all the new income that comes into my account after that point will go into second transfer. So $500, $600, and that will all get down into this second transfer. Just noticed that I had a mistake in my spreadsheet, so I'm real quickly going to change that. And this is why I'm glad we did this. I knew there was going to be something bad that I missed. Let's just pretend that didn't happen very much, and we'll just go back here, and we can see now that the transfers are here. So we know that we need to transfer $1.20 to profit, $300 to owner pay, $90 to taxes, and all the rest of this jazz, and it all adds up. So we'll transfer this, I guess. We'll just pretend it's tomorrow, and we already got it transferred. That's not a date. And this way, it makes your life so easy to know where all your money needs to go. And if you set these calculations up correctly at the very beginning, which we're about to get into with the Amazon payout calculations, you'll never have to worry about your business finances again until something changes in your business, like you're wanting to grow, or you start to make a little bit less money, or you're not getting as high of return on investment items. But if you're in a pretty comfortable range, you can just coast with this essentially forever and not have to worry about it and just continue to duplicate this template income. That's why it says duplicate me down here. And that is something that I did forget to do, and I should have done it because now that's all on the master sheet right here. Don't forget to duplicate your spreadsheet before you make any changes to it, because this one should just be the basic one, and you duplicate that and then you make your changes. Yikes. All right, so quickly let's pop over into this Amazon payout calculations so that we can see exactly what to do. And I know this looks a little overwhelming, but it has a lot more instructions than some of the other things. And this video right here, this whole video is essentially about that, and so I linked that video up here if you want to go and check it out as well. It also will be in the cards somewhere on here if you're interested. And this is the spreadsheet that a lot of people have been asking me for. So we're going to want to start below this black line here. And the first thing that we want to fill in is what we want to make every single month in terms of income. If you're not exactly sure what that will be, I would still fill this in, and you can figure out what you'd want it to be a little bit later as we get into this top part over here, which will be kind of towards the end. But as you can see here, it's the amount of money that you either want or need to make after taxes every single month, because your taxes are going to be saved in your business in a different part as well. And for reference, in my video it was $1,000, so we're going to just put in $1,000 here because that's what I pull out of my business every single month from Amazon. We can see already that this income number at the top here has been populated, and so let's move over onto the second thing, which is the payout percentage. This might be a little bit new to you if you haven't watched that video, but it's essentially the percentage of your sales that you get paid out to you, so after Amazon takes their fees. There's a couple ways that you can find this out. The best way is probably from Inventory Lab or another software, but you can also go to the Seller Central Payments page, go to all statements, and take a screenshot that looks like this. And I put in this for reference. It's from some of my own payouts, but Inventory Lab would be a little bit easier because you can just pull up a profit and loss report that I do in the other video. But here we can see we have sales numbers, so it's basically the amount of sales that you have in any statement period, and then the expenses that you would have. And I would include refunds of the expenses, add these two together, and then subtract them from your sales. Actually, you don't even need to do that. This will do that for you. You just put in the monthly sales here, and then the monthly Amazon fees right here, and it'll give you your monthly payout. In the other video, I'd already given this example, but kind of on average, I'll have monthly sales of around $9,000, and my Amazon fees for that will be right around $4,000, 4 to 4.5, and so my monthly payout will be $5,000. But more importantly than that, the payout percentage will be 55.56%. And that, as we can see, will go up here, and that'll really help us to determine how much money we need to take out of our business every single month. Then we got this nice big paragraph down here saying to figure out the next two percentage numbers, you'll need to calculate your cost of goods sold for the month you used above. So whether you used two different statements or a month worth of statements, or you went onto Inventory Lab and figured that out, you need to figure out the cost of goods sold. If you don't have a software like Inventory Lab, this will be super tedious, so I definitely recommend it, and you can use my link for a free trial, but definitely don't get it for my sake, only if it's best for your business. And then when on Inventory Lab or another platform, just find out your cost of goods sold for the month, and then you can find your gross profit and it'll calculate it for you. And so the cost of goods sold that I normally have on that amount of sales is right around $3,000. And so we can see that our payout stays $5,000, and that's just a number that gets auto-populated from up here. And then our gross profit is $2,000, giving us a profit percentage of about 40% and a COGS percentage of 60%, because these percentages are based off of your payout, not based off of your sales. And so that populates all the important numbers up here. We have $1,000 of income that we want, 56% payout essentially, 40% profit, and 60% cost of goods sold. And we can see that this table over here has now officially been populated. And this is one of the cooler things, and one of the reasons why it took me a little longer to get this video together is because I made a table that'll help you to figure out what percentage you need to take out of your business every month to get paid how much you need based on the amount of monthly sales that you're projected to have or you normally have. And we can play around with that a pretty decent amount. Personally, I take out 25% of my payouts for my owner pay. And that means that based on all the other numbers that we calculated here, I need to make $7,200 of monthly sales, $1,800 weekly, or $260 daily just about. And that's because that pulls that $1,000 of income, divides it by my owner pay percentage, and then by the payout percentage to determine how much I need to sell every single month. And the beautiful thing about this little table over here is if I want to give myself a raise, say I want to make $2,000 instead, I can determine based on how much monthly sales I have, how much I need to pull out of my business to see if that's feasible. So if I sell the same amount, I need to take 50 50% of my business. But if my business has been growing and instead of selling around $10,000 a month, I'm selling $20,000 a month, we can now see that I can pull out only 20% and I'd still be fine. And then your taxes would have to follow that. You'd have to make sure your operating expenses can still fall in line. But this is a really useful tool if you don't know how much you can take out of your business. Just make sure that whatever this profit percentage is, which in my case is 40%, can cover whatever you take out of your business, your operating expenses, as well as your taxes. Otherwise, you're not actually going to be able to take out that much. We're not quite done with how this spreadsheet works because on top of all of this, if we go back over into the first page, we can see that it recommends an inventory percentage of at least 60%, and this number is based on your cost of goods percentage. That way you know that if 60% of all of your payouts are for cost of goods sold, stuff that you sold, you need to at least replenish that inventory money or probably pay off some inventory debt if you're like me. And so by having your number at least 60%, which is why mine is 61.5, you'll be able to continue buying more inventory. The higher this inventory number is compared to the recommended inventory percentage, the faster your business will be able to grow, but that'll probably mean you're not able to take out as much money.
Now that's a ton of info, but I've gotten a decent amount of requests for that video, and it's probably the single most important thing in my business to make sure that I was able to leave my job and take out the correct amount of money while making such a little amount of revenue on Amazon so that I could grow this YouTube channel. And I definitely recommend watching these other videos that I mentioned in this video if you want a deeper understanding of how I manage my money in my business so I'm able to continue to grow and do the things that I want to in life.